So in this fundamental Maimer, what are we learning? We're learning about the most fundamental question possible, and that is, what's the purpose of creation? So he's explaining, of course, that it's Dira b'tachtonim, that kavan is that he wants dafke the giloi in the place of choshech. Now the big news here is that choshech doesn't start in Elam Hazeh. Elam Abriya is called Yetzer Eira Choshech, and not just Elam Abriya, but even Keser Ukam Hu Kodam Ilas Ilos. That even Keser is dark before the cause of all causes. What he explained was, how could this possibly be? And the Nakud of the answer is, anybody? The Nakud of the answer is Dalid. What do we mean by dark? Why is, why Briya Mikolshkein Keser is called Choshech? Yoshes Choshech Sisroi, which means, anybody? He places
his secrets,
his secrecy in darkness. Yeah. So why is what's the Nakud that Keser is called Choshech? What could this possibly be? Right. So here Choshech is a complement, as it were. It's a mila, complete bittul, no self, and completely expressive of him. So really, it means the greatest giloi. So we've just complicated things considerably now. The kavana is Dira b'tachtonim choshech, and Keser is already choshech, but Keser is choshech b'tzad hamayla. So why dafke Elam Hazeh? This is where he's going to, and obviously, as we're going to see, the connection, as it were, or the emes of the both choshech, the choshech of Elam Hazeh Gashmi, which is choshech in the literal sense, where God is eclipsed in terms of revelation completely and denied, and the choshech of the gewaltige choshech of Yoshes choshech Sisroi of Keser. So the Havin, to understand this further, was exploring this. Now I say we'll begin again. Did we start it? I don't remember. You may have. Nobody remembers. We'll certainly start it again. No, okay. The Havin in Bechinas Ukom, the Keser b'teisves bir, to understand the darkness of Keser with greater explanation. Greater than what? What was just said, that it's the inyan of bittul. Let's just get these words correct also, because he's going to be using them. Keser is called ayin. So Keser is ayin, and it's bottle to the yesh amiti, Eivishter, Atzmus, and therefore it's ukam. Therefore, because it's completely bottle, it's ukam. Keser is ayin, from which the yesh emerges. Atzilus, Briya, to be seen now. Now he's going to explain very profoundly the maila of Keser. Hine beginnes ayin de Keser shnimshach meyesh hamiti. So the ayin, the nothingness, here nothingness is again virtuous nothingness, bittul, that draws from the true being. Here's the critical words now, which is going to explore over the next ois. What's the analogy? More than an analogy, what's the manifestation of that Pashat Begashmius? It's like the relationship of the ray or the light from the sun. I think I mentioned this once as a famous sikha, where the Rebbe explains to Givaldi Geufto that it's the later Mukabolim that coined or started to employ rather the marshal of Eir. You don't find this language before. So in Pashtus, because it's a nice marshal, it serves well. But the Rebbe explains it like everything. It's much more than that. Eir Gashmi, and its properties devolve from the Oir Ruchni, which is why it's still baffling, the science, and there's many theories to it, and probably all true, as to the nature of Oir because of its simplicity at once and complexity. So the Moshel he's going to explain now of Keser is Oir Lagabe the Shemesh. Sheyesh by Maila. So this manifestation of a likus, which is analogous to Oir, has a Maila over Hashpa Sasechem Mashpil Mekabel. We have there's another Moshel that we employ to describe God's relationship with us, and that is as like a master teacher that gives over a Dvar Seichel. And that's not Oir. The teacher's not sitting in the room and radiating Seichel. He's invested in his Mashpia. So we're going to bring out there's a Maila of Oir over the Hashpa of a Lavan Talmud or a Seichel to a Dvar Seichel to the Mekabel. Oya Filo, we're going to bring out even more so the Maila of Oir emanating from the Moir as a greater Gilui, even, and this is a huge Chiddush, Hashpa Atzmis Le'Hoilid B'Doimele, even greater than what the Father gives the seed that gives birth to a child similar to him. And as we learn that this comes mamash from the Atzmius HaMoichin, you recall we had a very dick Maimers, I could recall, which what it was will be Moishe Mashiach. But it was a whole beer at length, and all the dargas of Chochmah. It was a Maimah explaining how Mashiach will teach everybody at once. And it's the most profound exploration of the dargas of Chochmah, the Atzmi's Dika level of Chochmah. I don't remember the day Masal. I was talking years ago, 5 years ago. And there he explains, like it was based on Tanya, that the child is Nimshach Mimoya Cha'av. This is a big sugya, and it's not poshet at all. And it means, at the end of the day, that the tipa Gashmi comes from the Atzmius of the Moichin. Both. And at that level, the Atzmius of Moichin is both Gashmi and Ruchni. Now, this tipa Gashmi is an extraordinary hashpah that gives birth to a child similar to the father. Could be a great hashpah than that. And yet he's saying now that the Gilui of Oir from Moir has a Maila over even this hashpah in terms of what is given. The father gives everything, so much so that the child is born similar to him. And Abemis, I have a question. I might as well mention it now. Can you be thinking of it? No, which he doesn't address in the Ois. You try and give a shtickle beer or the nisht, it's right, but and the question is that the father doesn't only give over a created child that's similar to him. What do we find? That sometimes a child, but he has even greater talent than the father. So that means that the father is giving over essential characteristics that even not manifested by him. It's taka mikoyach ha'av, but by the father, it's mikoyach in a state of latency and potential, in the DNA, as it were, but not manifested. So l'chayda, there's no greater hashpah than the tipa, where the chiddush of Yesh Ma'ayin, the child is born virtually out of nothing, not mamish, but virtually. And it's similar, he's similar, she's similar to the father. And I'm adding now even more. Aful Piken, having said that, he's going to explain here that there's a Maila Dafkin Oir, which is what Keser is, over all of these ashbois. The analogy of a Seichel, and the analogy even of, or the parallel even of the Tippa. The Maila, we're clear where we're going. Yeah? The Maila is in two things. Friends, this is from Samach Vav and other places. In Aleph, the first milah of these analogies of the Gili of Alikus that comes in the way of Oid, which is what Kesed is, over the Adash boys. So the first milah is Sha'oid v'ziv efshel yes mitziyusi bilti amor klal. You cannot have light without the luminary producing it. Right? And we'll contrast this with the other kinds of ashpah. Every moment that the light exists, the ray exists, the projection exists, it's drawn from the luminary, and obviously is dovuk, is attached. If you put something in between, so that light is no longer revealed. Now in brackets for us, he's saying, that's where he invoked or described Kesed as Oir. So likewise, the order of Ayin, the Kesed, should dovuk by Yesha Miti, it's dovuk. Dovuk means, yeah. With the true Yesh, the more the Yesha Miti, that's number one. Now, contrasting this with, still, this is all number one, with the other kinds of ashpors. When we're talking about not oil, but shefa, these are the two words the Kabbalah uses and Chassidus uses in general, too. In general, there's oil and there's shefa. We're talking about oil, but then there's also another emanation of godliness that the term to describe that would not be oil, but dafka shefa. When do we evoke that?
When something is missing.
Shefatal. When else?
In the context of any bracha. Context of any bracha.
Yeah, you could, but I'm saying push it in the language of Atfilas. The holding it of Sfiras Ha'omer is described as Shefa. Hashpa'ah. Now, what's Hashpa'ah? As opposed to light. As he says, Shalachar Pulas Hashpa'ah. A teacher giving over, teaching, that's Hashpa'ah. Again, the teacher's not just sitting there doing his own thing and radiating light, and the children understand. Nothing happens. That's the downside of it. The keli has to be a keli, but he's engaged. Hashpa'ah means engaged. Engaged, and it means tzimtzum, getting involved in and tailored to the minds, the keli of the makabel. But what happens then? He stopped teaching after the hashpa'ah. It's now separate from the mashpia. He said the teaching. He gave the shir, doesn't have to give it again, and the shir remains. The teaching remains, and it's now being grasped by the minds of the mekabelim. Not like oir that only exists as long as the moir is emanating. Hashpa'ah, you give it, and that's it. It's over. The hashpa'ah is over, but the shefa remains. So that's one milah. Clear? Yeah. Yes, of course, there's a mile in Hashpa'ah, but he's speaking of the mile of Oir. All to bring out that Keser Ukam, because it's Oir, therefore it's Ukam, it's dark. That's where he's going. Being in Abbey is dark in the Maliyusa, the virtue of that.
You mean Dovuk because it's Dovuk, because it's connected.
I mean, what'd you say?
L'chair, the kvetches is because it's Dovuk.
This was said already in Leis Dalet. He's elaborating now. That point is made already. He's now explaining all of this at length. So let's go with this and what? Which motion?
The teacher, so it's giving off. It's not that he sits there giving off. What would be giving off or as opposed to
just sitting there, learning,
sitting there and just
doing his thing, not engaged with him.
The actual lesson is the imparting of something that the chef is something
that's hashpa'ah, and hashpa'ah takes a toll on the mashpia, and he's invested in them, as he goes on to say further detail. But the point he's saying now is dovuk or not dovuk. That after the ashpa, that the class has been given, he no longer has to make it very clear, for the students to have the idea in their head, has to keep on talking forever. The room to be light, the light's going to be constantly emanating. And as soon as we switch the light off, then the room is in darkness, plunged into darkness. But to give over a dvar seichel, you say this once, give a good shir, gamanu. Now they've got it. They doesn't have to keep on being mashpia, the seichel, for the students to have it. They take ownership of it. Yeah. Vinyan Abbey, so that's the Vinyan of Dovak, right, Chaim? Yeah, Dovak, not Dovak. Vinyan Abbey's, and it's the second mile of Oyer, she's Davkas Oyer Ba'amoyer Gufa, U'ba'ofen Ayoyse Naila, the attachment, literally, of light to the luminary is in the highest way possible. Shari Oyer Hu Me'ein HaMoyer. Where did it start, Oyer? And it doesn't, and it doesn't, it's not compromised. It starts at the highest level of the moir. That's what it is. The moir, the luminary, produces light. So the whole moir is expressed in the oir. But here the kvetch is the oir itself. The oir, you contrast this with the teacher. By the way, I'll tell you now, the teacher is giving up all the seichel in his head. His deepest ideas that he has, far from it. The teacher is giving over mamish, a very limited aspect of seichel that exists within him. And he starts to talk, that's not dovuk in his seichel, in his demokah, in his koyach hamaskil, from the place where ideas produce. It's not dovuk in the koyach hamaskil at all. The idea that he's given has gone through tremendous, it's a simple idea for the tailored to the makablim, and in his own mind, tremendous tzimtzumim in language, and it was tremendous process, worlds apart from the way he understands, period. Right? So that's the second mile. And say it again. She's dafkas the oir ba'amoyer gufa, the attachment, literally, of the oir in the moir. Where does it start? In the moir. Ba'ofen ayoyse naila. Shar oir hu me'ein hamoir. The light expresses the moir. Now, just want to tell you, we'll go further, let's finish it. Contrasting this to Ashpa. Like the classic example is teaching. Through, it gives a good shear, so you can see the mile of the teacher. He's a great chacham. How do you see that? Just looking at the lecture, looking at the shear. You can see immediately when he speaks that this is a great chacham, not a great chacham. Still, as great as the ashpa is, the great teacher, and you can see this, we get appreciation of the great master. But still not the world of the Rav at all. Very far from the seichel the way it is by him. Clear? Contrasting his back, unlike oir, the oir is reflective of the moir mamish as opposed to the seichel. Clear? Now, just to add nuance, which we've said before, and I told you this is not universally held by all mashpiyim. Not that I made a what's the word? I didn't do a survey, but that's how it comes out by me. And the hainu that what I mean by oir is classically we think of like the sun and there's rays. The sun's there, and there's rays coming through the window. That's the oir, right? L'chayda, he means something much more than that. Oir means this. You're looking at this. What do you have of this? The image in your head of this phone or anything you look at is the oir of it. The gashmis, oir bounces off it and enters into the eye, and if the eye is working properly and the brain, then a faithful mamish me'ein hamo'ir. You're seeing exactly what it is. What is. That's Oir. Oir means the image of that which you're looking at, which is Me'ein HaMoir, which faithfully conveys that which you're looking at. The Moir being the phone. It's a Moir because light is bouncing off it. You couldn't see it otherwise. That's why we see things. And there's a speed that travels 186,000 miles per second. That's the Chayra Oir. And it fits in with all the things that Chassidus says, more or less, some places. Only thing it's not Pashut is, but you can answer it, but you just said before, when you cut off, the Oir disappears the moment, but it really doesn't. Stars which no longer exist, we still see, why? Because light is traveling from them. The L'chayri means, okay, but they're going to a pilpul here. But that's one of the shilas. It doesn't mean that, because Varaya, that's how you're defining light, then you can, then why are we still seeing things when there's no Moir? That could be answered. I actually did before a little bit. But anyway, let's not get distracted. I had this big argument with the Shemer about it. He says, I know, it doesn't see no way in the pashtus of the words. I can't see any other way to understand it properly. And that's what it is. Again, you're seeing this is mamash bouncing off. Okay, now let's roll this back. So that's the Maila. That's the Maila of Oir Gabi Shefa. Again, so the Rav teaching through Taka, the quality of his class is indicative whether he's a Chacham Gadol or not. But on the other hand, finish my sentence, what he's teaching is what? What's the Chsoren? The Seichel that he's teaching is, someone finish my sentence?
According to the level of the,
It's what?
according to the level of the one receiving.
Right, and very far from the mind and the depth, the capacity of the master's intellect, and the way he understands, in fact, that concept of mind b'chlal. Now, what about now the other example he gave of Ashpa, the Ashpa of the Tippa? Here too, what? We're going to go and say the Maila of Oir Lagabi, even this Ashpa. This is Ashpa Atzmis, Gewalt, is an integrated investment than the child of the father. He calls it Ashpa Atzmis. So this is already far beyond the Rav, who's only giving a very compromised idea relative to his own mind, not so in Ashpa Atzmis, that he gives birth to a child similar to him. Here too, the mile of even though through the tipa being within the mother's womb for 9 months, adam kamayhu. So the end result is a person like the father, im seichel bides, intellect, emotion, v'teir ponim kamayhu, and he can look like him. Like it says in Gemara, a father grants his son 5 things. Actually, I want to see those 5 things. I just take I think I still have it. I'm pretty sure. Give me a second, because in the Gear is in the Hemshech HaGedvarim here. I think I have it. Bear with me a second. No. No. Okay. Oh, one more thing. I thought I made a copy. No. I want to look up the Gemara, just bear with me. Where is it? 37 Adius Gimu. Sneaky, you'll see why. Mishnah is, sorry, friends. David. Maybe someone finds it faster. Oh, here it is. Okay. Actually, there's no Gemara. What do you say? Perek Gimel? This. Okay. It's a different divide over here. All right, sorry. Can't find it. $38. Oh, yeah. All right, we'll go further. I'll share with you tomorrow. Hayom. Yeah, so the 5 things the Mishnah says, they're not mamish like him. Now, my question I said before could even be greater. But these are, you see inside these qualities. Why don't we find that Talmidei Chachamim produce Talmidei Chachamim? So the Gemara that says, this is a Gemara in the Dorim, various reasons why, because they shouldn't have a sense of entitlement, they shouldn't be baligaiva. So, but the fact is that Talmidei Chachamim do not produce Talmidei Chachamim like them, which is l'chayla raya that what? That even though it's Kemoisa, but not Kemoisa mamish. Now, Vavshe Chazal mechapsim mabadim tamal zeh, even though Chazal look for reasons for this, extraneous reasons, chisreinis, not because of their own, not because of the parents themselves. Mash was asking a question. Without the reasons the Gemara gives, I just told you one, that the children shouldn't feel superior, arrogant. They would have been. So he from here, in other words, he's saying from this Maimah Chazal, they would produce Talmidei Chachamim like them. The only reason they don't, because Chazal finds extraneous reasons. So what did we bringing from here that's not Kemoisei Mamish? Not a rai. Yeshloimer shezeh shaduli hatam. They would suggest, if not for the reason that they would be like the children, like the fathers. It's not because of the father, and because of the mile of Torah. Torah is the short of 3 generations. You learn the Torah is kept; it will remain in the family. So, all to bring out that they would be because of Torah, but not because of them. But because of the father, his conclusion is that even Ashba Atzmis of a Tipa, the child is not Mamish Kemoisa. What about my question? But it could be even greater. Teretz l'chayda is what? Anybody wants to give a teretz? It's not Kemoisai. It's still not Kemoisai. The fact that the father, l'chayda, I'm saying, the fact that the father contains in his genes potential, that's not him. That's a carryover from whatever it is that's invested in him. Here we're speaking about the mashpia, you. So the father proof here is take a child but mamish kemaisai, not, which means is he giving himself over completely? The child's not a duplicate of the father, not a replica of the father. Hashenkin Oid is a duplicate, a replica, faithful rendition of the Mo'ed. My shayla, the fact that the child can be more, that's not because of the father, because he's a carrier. He's a carrier of genes that's not him. Clear? It could come out in the that's my suggesting. What?
You can't say
It's still, and it's not Kemoisai. It doesn't help us that he's greater. You want to bring out that the Oy reflects the Mo'ed. If the child is greater than the father, so that's something else entirely. Huh?
in contradiction, but less.
I wouldn't say God forbid,
But less.
often less. Often. All right, we'll stop here to be continued Be'ez Hashem tomorrow.